Hey everybody!
What's up, guys?
My voice just like wavered. It's like, hey everybody!
How is everyone?
How are y'all doing?
I really, again, we just thank you for all of our new subscribers. You guys make us feel so happy.
If you're new or coming back,
welcome to the family.
Hello. Also, drop in the comments what kind of...
Oh, God. Chair upholstery.
What kind of furniture do you guys like?
What's your favorite kind of furniture?
What's your favorite kind of furniture to eat? Drop that in the comments
below.
What in the
world? Oh
Gotta
my
keep
God.
it fun. Also, just to give you guys a little update, I only have 2 drinks today. I don't have 3.
Yeah. We're also recording this really late, and we're both drinking coffee, and we have no business doing that right now.
No, because I get up at 6 in the morning tomorrow. So here we are. And I don't know how many shots is in his because we went to Dutch Bros.
Wait, should we be shouting them out? They're not sponsoring us.
No, it's not a shout out. We're just giving our fans what we got.
Okay.
To be honest, I don't suggest going there. Go to
But if you would like to sponsor us, Lord God.
Yeah, but Dutch Bros, if you want to sponsor, that'd be pretty cool.
We're just losing sponsorships right now.
I'm a Starbucks employee. I just support Starbucks all the time. Yeah, this is so off topic, but we pulled up today, and I was like, I don't know. Listen, maybe I'd like them more if the man was a little nicer to me.
He was nice.
And he was okay. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted, and he wasn't giving me any help.
So your Libra leapt out, though, and you were just like, I don't know what I want.
I don't know what you want from me. I'm indecisive.
I'm just saying.
There's so many. I couldn't even see the menu.
Okay, but you just... Never mind. All right.
Anyways, guys. We shouldn't have coffee this late at night.
No.
But here we are. But yeah, I only have water and coffee. Got to stay hydrated as I dehydrate myself.
So, what are we talking about today?
Today we have a doozy. I'm just kidding.
No, for real though. Listen, no, okay. So first of all, I don't know if this is either this podcast might run a little long or if we'll have to split it up into 2 parts because honestly, this is our disclaimer. We always have the disclaimer that's like, yo, we're not professionals. We're not therapists.
We're talking from our own experiences, our own thoughts, our own opinions, our own revelations that we have.
Yes, but
with this particular thing that we're talking about today,
just be ready. It's one of those things where you cannot close your eyes after this one.
Yeah.
And hopefully, because that's how I feel for myself. Mm-hmm. I can't close my eyes to it. Yeah. It has completely changed my standard for relationships and how I view relationships and how I view partnership and what that actually means, how I view honesty and trust. So, yeah, let's just jump into it.
Yeah, so just letting y'all know.
So that's your opportunity to click off.
Yeah. Because, like Anastasia was saying, once you hear about it, you're like, oh, okay. Now I don't really know what to do with myself, and the story will just kind of pop into your head. Yeah. At least that's what it did for me. Yeah. It's it'll just come, and I'll be like, oh, so this is what we're thinking about. This is what we're doing today. So that's your disclaimer. Like we said, if you would prefer to just keep your eyes closed on this, then go ahead and leave now. We won't judge you. We'll see you at the next podcast. We still love you.
So
farewell.
So we get into it because we're already 4 minutes in. Okay, so this happened while I was reading another Gay Hendricks book.
Shout out to our boy Gay Hendricks. What?
Shout out to our boy.
That's our boy.
He
Gay
has no
Hendricks.
idea we exist, but what up?
But it's okay because he's still our boy.
So I was reading his book, Conscious Living, and not even far into the book. This is chapter 4. we came to like this ridiculous thing that happened.
We came to a halt.
Should I say the commitments that he made first, or should I tell the story?
I think tell the story, and then,
okay.
And then talk about the commitments.
We're literally, this is, if you really want to reference, page 172.
Do you want to follow along with your
of Conscious Living? Yeah, when we have our book club. So what happens in this part of the story is, and I am paraphrasing, but I'm not cutting anything out that's really important. Pretty much, him and his wife are at a party. Mm-hmm. They've been married for a while. Him and his wife, they're at a party. They're mingling. They're talking. He sees this chick that's a lot younger than he is, I'm assuming, at the time. And was like, oh, ooh, wow.
Hello.
But it wasn't like a regular, oh, she cute. It was like, oh, I want to sleep with her.
We trying
like,
to
I want to sleep with her. And so what happens is he registers that he has a sexual attraction to this other woman while his wife is at the party, and immediately walks over to his wife and tells her, hey, I want to sleep with that chick over there. When I talked to her, when I walked past her, I realized I really want to sleep with her.
First off,
that's the first part. No waiting.
Just
no, let me go home.
He went and he was like, at this party, in the middle of this party, he says, nah, I'm trying to smash.
So he went to his wife and said that he took her to a place, he took her to a place that he could talk to her a little privately, and was like, hey, so this is what I want right now. And he says, like, she felt angry, but she told him that she appreciated him for telling her like what he was feeling. And then it says that he then processed his feelings for the lady and walked over to the girl that he was having these fantasies about, and decided that the three of them were going to have a conversation at the party to figure out why he was finding himself so sexually drawn to her.
Which is, again, you're like, what?
And then it says here, I told the other woman about the feelings too. And the three of us spent a stimulating 20 minutes talking things over. Okay. There's so much more to this. So much. But, okay, when I tell you guys, when I first read that, I yelled.
It was late at night again, like it is now. I was in bed. I'm gonna set the scene up. I was vibing. I was having a good night, getting ready to go to bed. And she says, Sydney. I was like, what? And she's like, are you awake? And I was like, yeah. Which is usually how it goes with us. And then she was like, I'm gonna read this to you. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I know what she had, I know what she had been reading. And then she told me, and I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Because listen, I've never heard.
What?
First of all.
Still hearing the story, like my brain still goes to like, he just walked right up to her and was like.
He was like, I want to have sex with this woman that's not my wife. Let me go talk to my wife. Like, immediately. First of all, I've never heard that.
No.
I've never heard that from anyone in the church or
in the world.
Literally,
I've never heard that from anyone.
No. Like, it's so far out of, and like, I'm like losing words now.
Yeah, because it's just.
But it's like, to be, okay, the level of trust.
Yeah.
The level, now he did mention that he had made an agreement with her, like when they started dating. Yeah, commitment. And one of the commitments was that they were committed to hearing the unvarnished truth from each other. And another commitment was that they were committed to telling each other the truth as soon as they're aware of it. Which, again, is never something I've been taught or heard or overheard.
See, I've been not like taught,
or you hear
but like heard is like truth. It's
yeah.
like being honest.
Yeah.
But it's never like a unflinching honesty.
Yeah.
Like to a point of like this. It's never like a I want to have sex.
But see, the thing is, too, I think what also happens is those thoughts, people just chalk them up to, oh, it's just your makeup. Men think about sex a lot. Or, or women are just, it's just something that comes in and out. It's not even something to really think about or take into account.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like really, I don't know. So that was like a huge, that was like really,
there's just so many feelings, because it does get blamed on that a lot. Like, if we're being honest, it's like, it is always blamed on like the other person. Mm-hmm. It's always like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, they're very attractive, or yeah, they can smooth talk, or yeah, she looked like that, or yeah, he looked like that. Mm-hmm. It's like never. It's kind of like people don't ever have to take responsibility
for what they're
feeling, or even like
and
do
being
a check.
Fully honest.
Mm-hmm. It's like with themselves.
Yeah. Because like one thing I know, especially the church loves to do, is lustful thoughts, rebuke the enemy, rebuke the devil. The devil is making you, and it's like, no, because like what he ends up doing, like what he does in this story is when he does check himself. And okay, so the other thing that like really throws me is he pretty much says he allows himself to feel the feelings, process them until he gets to the underlying problem. Mm-hmm. And for him, he pretty much was saying the underlying issue was that she was really just a metaphor for the fact that he was losing touch with himself. That she was young. I'm literally reading from the book. I do not have COVID. That she was young and vital and free-spirited, and he was feeling like he had lost those qualities in favor of becoming a prosperous citizen. Mm-hmm. And then that he had felt like the loss. Okay, so he was feeling the loss of youth, the inevitability of death, and the need for a way to bring back wildness into his life, that it like literally had nothing to do with her. It was just, she was reminding him of something that he was losing, or that he had lost, or that he felt like he was losing control of.
Within himself.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with his wife.
Yeah.
So that's, oh my gosh. There's so much we're unpacking. Because it's like I said, we're so used to, I think, I know for me, you have a lustful thought. My first thought is, oh God, how am I? Well, not so much anymore because I've kind of separated myself from that. But it's like this thought process of, okay, so why am I thinking that? That's not good. That's a bad thing. So then shame and guilt. And then I don't say anything. I don't voice it. The fact that this dude did not waste a minute.
Because then if you like let it sit, it becomes more of like a problem. And then it can fester in different ways too. In his book, The Big Leap, he talks about like a very similar situation. Except it's like another couple that is like getting counseling. I'm gonna paraphrase this one. Oh my gosh. Sorry, my computer just had a notification. So it was a couple. They were trying to figure out like what their problem was and like why they kept arguing. And they worked at like the same company to a point where like employees were like, yo, y'all keep fighting and it's making us uncomfortable. So they went to get Hendrix for counseling, and he was just like talking to them, listening to like what they had to say. And then he asked like, oh, so the wife was always like, you're cheating on me with the assistant. And he's like, no, I'm not cheating on you. And she's like, nah, you're doing it. So Gary was like, okay, so I'm gonna ask her if she's had any like lustful thoughts or thoughts of being with another one of their coworkers. And at first she was so mad. She was like, it's like, then Sarah broke the silence with an attack on the messenger. She shot me a hostile glance and sneered, so you think this is all my fault? She was so mad at the fact that he was like, maybe it's you. And then she checked within herself, and she was like, actually, there was a young man who had just finished like a schooling and she was talking to, and she just loved, it was like his ease at communicating his feelings and just like being young, you know? So she missed that within herself.
And in her relationship.
So it turned her into, like, always thinking that her husband was doing it because she was, like, projecting her own feelings. Mm-hmm. Which...
Again, it's just, like...
The idea of, like, going within yourself first...
Yeah.
I think is, like, the big... For me, at least, is the biggest thing. It's like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
I need to go... I'm the only one who can figure this out, you know? Mm-hmm.
And not immediately going to the other. Like, not immediately, like... pushing it off and pushing... I don't know. I'm going to keep crediting PA with this.
Oh, my God.
Until I think maybe, like, 2 more times, and then I'm going to start just saying it's my quote.
No, you can't
surrendering. Yes, I will.
No, you literally can't.
And, like, saying, like, and being like, okay, it's another level of surrendering your right to be powerless. Mm-hmm. And, like, in a relationship. And, like, actually, again, but I think that, again, it's this... If I'm going to be really honest, most people, I would imagine, would go home. They would mull it over. They would try to figure out why they thought that way. Or they would give in to the fantasies, and then they would start fantasizing about that person and becoming obsessive and then eventually cheating. But it's like, instead, like, what really threw me off was I've never heard of that level of honesty in a relationship. Mm-hmm. I've never seen that level of honesty in a relationship where you're straight up just like, oh, no, we're going to go and have a conversation at the party.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't afraid of her emotions. He wasn't afraid of her reaction because the commitment they had made to each other was more important than the reaction he was going to get by being that honest. Mm-hmm. Which I think is just crazy because I've just never heard of someone being that honest and that forward with their partner. Like, it just doesn't know. I've just never heard of that before. I don't know if you want to add something.
It's just like, oh my God. Like, thinking about it and then talking about it, you're like, oh wow. Mm-hmm. Because it really just is like an oh wow. And like for my future relationships, like that's genuinely what I want is like not only like a romantic relationship, but I want that for like friendship relationships too, or like family relationships, like just that 100% honesty of being like, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I think more and more it's becoming more of like a necessity for my relationships. Mm-hmm. So I feel like whenever I get into like a romantic relationship, it's going to be something that I've already been like cultivating. So it's going to be something that it just comes out. Because like it's starting to do that. It's starting to be like that. There we go. At work too. Where it's like, if I don't feel like I can be 100% honest, I'm like, okay, I know these people won't respond to my honesty or respond to what I have to say. So I'll just give it like little bits and then just keep to myself.
Yeah.
So today I also talked to my coworker about this.
Yeah.
I will not mention names. Everyone gets left in the dark. But it was like a male perspective on it. So I asked him, I was like, so can I tell you a story? He was like, yeah. So I told him like the whole story. And I mean, his response is what I anticipated, but also wasn't at the same time. He was very taken aback by it. Very like, oh my God, never been heard of.
Yeah, it's just not heard of.
Oh my God, excuse me. I tried to hide the burp. I'm so sorry. I don't know what you want. But it was just a very surprising thing. And his like knee-jerk reaction was to like go home or verbally process it with somebody else.
But
but not being his spouse. Like, no, it wasn't like his spouse. It wouldn't be the other person. It would be like somebody outside of their relationship, an older male that he would go and process with. And I was like, okay, but why not?
But when you first told me that, I remember hearing, when you first said that, I was like, that actually makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Knowing that he does have like a church background.
Yeah.
Because that's all I grew up knowing was, oh, you need to take that to an elder or you need to take that to another male
somebody
figure.
In leadership.
They'll pray over you. Again, though, it's not taking the accountability and it's and like seeing how it pulls you away from your spouse So now you're including someone else in something and you're still leaving your spouse in the dark. And that goes either way, because it was also the same thing for women.
Yeah.
Women needed to go to a authority figure or a youth leader or somebody. Like, they needed to go to another leader to, like, talk about that kind of stuff.
And doing that, too, it's like, are you really being honest with yourself?
Yeah, but I mean, and it's funny because in those situations, you're going to them for the solution. You're not going in yourself for the solution.
Which is like where you ultimately need to go, because going to someone else will be fine and all, like, process whatever. But if you're not asking yourself the questions that you know you should be asking yourself, like, then you're not going to get anywhere, and you're going to keep continuing, like, this cycle.
And there goes the deception, like, for your spouse. Like, you're not speaking to your partner. You're not going to your partner and being like, oh,
so this is how I feel.
So this is what's happening right now, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's something, like, I'm realizing, because for me, like, the standard is set now. And it's like, now I'm like, okay, like, so the last podcast, I was like, you need to be in therapy. And I'm like, and this is what we need, absolute honesty.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what absolute honesty actually looks like. Because I feel like we've never had an example of what this is absolute honesty. Yeah. Like, this is you saying, like, this is how I'm feeling in this moment. It doesn't have to just be about lust. It could be about anger. It could be about...
It could be about anything in general. Yeah. But, like, just that 100%, like, being committed to be 100% honest with each other.
But even a thought that just, like, came to me, too, was, like, even in... Okay, so, yes, we want to be 100% honest. And there's so many things, though, that, like, mindsets and mentalities that can fight against wanting to be that honest. Because, like, I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure, like, their relationship had been built up and everything, but the fear.
Yeah. Fear, shame, like, guilt of, like, even looking and thinking of another woman like that. Even, like, entertaining those thoughts. Yeah. Like, I feel like building up to it, it was not easy.
No.
But he knew, like, he's like, I made this commitment, so I need to do what I said and make sure that I'm, you know, following through with the relationship.
So it's funny what he says too at the he even says, like, towards the end of, like, this story or this part of, like, you know, the story, he even says thank you. He's like, thank goodness for the sexual attraction to this magnificent young woman who caught my eye. By following my feelings to the core, he learned something about himself that no actual physical encounter could have given him. In fact, a physical sexual relationship would have would have locked me into a drama that would probably have obscured the real issues beneath the surface. My relationship with his wife became more stronger after this experience, and they are actually good friends with the woman that he had these issues, and they're officiating their wedding. It's like, what? Like, again, it's just this idea, like, one thing that I had to ask myself, because I know we, like, started, like, getting into it when I first started talking about it, because I was putting it all on my future husband, and you were like, no, how about you, though?
Oh, yeah, like, how about, because she was like, I want him to be like this, I want him to do this, I want him, and I was like, but what about yourself?
Yeah, because it was like, I honestly was just like, I've never heard of being that, like, could I really be that honest? Where I could go. I mean, of course, now, like, there's a commitment that I want to make within the next relationship that I'm in, where it's like, yeah, we can be this honest.
Yeah.
And I have to be secure enough in myself to not immediately, like, we don't know what her part of the story was. Like, we don't get to read his wife's part.
That would be nice.
But it's like, it would be nice.
I'd love to read that part. Hey, if you're listening, we want to hear her side.
But it's, like, really, like, an interesting thing, because it's like, one of the things I thought was, okay, so was she insecure? Like, did she look at herself and then compare herself? I mean, that must have been so difficult, because they're an older couple.
Well, and so then what? It's like, she says that she felt her feelings, but ultimately she agreed to go.
Yeah.
And she must have been secure in it. Like, insecure in herself to feel, because it didn't say anything about, like, her. It said anger. I remember that part.
Yeah, so she was angry. And
then after, she was, like, hurt?
Yeah. So, I mean, but she went, like, I mean, like I said, I'm just speaking for myself, because I can't speak for her, but, like, I know where I'm at right now. I don't know if I could say that I wouldn't have popped off.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And been like, what?
Excuse
I'm sorry.
You.
Like, yeah, I was about to say something really mean. Bring the hoe here. But, like, but honestly, like,
thinking of myself right now, like, a situation like that happening, I don't really know what my reaction would be. Mm-hmm. I'd probably cry, to be honest. I'd probably cry and be really hurt and probably do the comparison.
Mm-hmm. See, I feel like I would be comparing, but covering it with like, anger? And then just being angry at both of them.
Yeah.
And like not looking, and the girl didn't even do anything, no. And I'd be like angry. But it's like, I mean, I'm so thankful. Like, I am thankful for this because like this is now like, first of all, it showed me like within myself, like, mm-hmm. at least for like this part, when it comes to like trust, like I need to grow. Mm-hmm. And I need to grow in who I am. Mm-hmm. Like, because again, that comes back to like being 100% of a person, and then your partner being 100% mm-hmm. of a person, and like you two coming together makes 200%. Mm-hmm. So that this way there is no, oh, well, you know, they're doing more. No, mm-hmm. everyone's even.
Yeah, everyone's even.
So the partnership is even. And it's like, that's something that I really want to, I'm definitely going to like still working on, mm-hmm. is like realizing that and like working in that. I was giving you space to talk.
Oh, I'm okay. Half of me is like caffeinated, and half of me is like, "Ooh, girl, we could go to sleep."
But yeah, like it is interesting though. Like one thing that's really getting me right now is like, at least in the I know in my upbringing, because I not really grew up in the church. I got saved when I was 19, but I was in the church so I was like 30. Just like the way that these kind of first of all are never brought up, which should be brought up more, because I can only imagine how many. Oh,
I was talking about the story.
Yeah, like just like
it left my brain what we were talking about for a second, and I was like, wait, what doesn't get brought up?
But
so sorry.
It's okay. But just like,
oh yeah, it doesn't get brought up at all, and I feel like it should. Mm-hmm.
Because there's the level of accountability. That's what I'm looking for.
What it is.
It's accountability, mm-hmm. that it's like that I just don't see.
Yeah.
It's like he did. His
mm-hmm.
first thought was to, I need to go run to somebody who's older with more experience.
Mm-hmm.
But that person probably never sat and was honest with their wife when they were looking at somebody walk by at church, and had to like figure out what, probably didn't figure out
was like
why they were thinking that.
The devil gotta rebuke him.
Yeah, and it's like, no,
instead
like that's
of looking within and being like, so do I just think she's beautiful, or is there a deeper thing inside me that is saying, oh, I want her, but really you want what she's embodying?
But it's like a suppression of feelings, though, because mm-hmm. then that's what you get into, is like just a suppression.
Yeah.
And instead of going in and actually digging through your feelings, it's just, it's,
yeah, just shoving that down and being like,
or just putting the blame on, the sin of the flesh, or
mm-hmm.
you're just constantly blaming something else and
instead of taking responsibility for yourself.
Exactly.
And for your own thoughts and your own feelings.
Yeah. So
I'm so sorry, and I don't know why I keep burping.
Maybe I'm like.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
But it's just really interesting. Like it's really kind of transformed, like what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think in relationships.
What I have to have
mm-hmm.
in relationships, again, because not only romantic relationships, but relationships in general, I want that like 100% honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm committed to being 100% honest with people in my life. And also, guys, I did my commitments. I forgot to tell you in the last podcast.
Oh.
I did them. Don't worry. Anyhow, yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. We're going to definitely keep talking about this topic too, because it's like, it's deep.
I feel like you get new like hits of it, and it's like, oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. Because again, it's like I just look back at like my experiences in relationships mm-hmm. and my experiences watching other relationships unfold
mm-hmm.
and watching the way people respond to each other. And that is a huge thing. Like I remember back in the day, like there was this one key person that I realized was a terrible thing, but it was like, if anyone needed advice, they had to go to this person and talk to them about their relationship, had to talk to them about what they were going through. That person would give them the advice, and then they would go home, and then they would practice that advice. Like, it was never inward.
Yeah.
It was never going inward. It was never like, let me look at myself. It was never, let me check myself. Yeah. It was always, Well, and then what was always happening was in those arguments that I saw, it was always, well, the person said this. They said we should do this. They said we should do this. They think this is a good idea for us. Like, and it was never them together talking. And that's like one of the most prominent examples I have from a few years ago, like people that I was like close to before. Was always this like, and don't get me wrong, because I did the same thing. I was always going to that person for advice, and then that person superseded everyone, and it was just so unhealthy. But it's just interesting, like looking at this and like, wow. But what if they like took the time to go in themselves, and then took the time to then communicate with each other and try to figure it out? Like, I mean, there's a lot behind that too, but it's just like I look at those things and I look at those examples, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that's a big issue is we're used to going to someone else for advice. And I don't think that's just in the church. It's everywhere.
It is
like
everywhere.
You're used to just going.
Want that
you go to your
voice,
friends. You go to you know what I mean? Like you call your boys, you call your girls, you go.
You're like, okay, so I feel like this. Do you have any advice for me? Do you want? Can you help me navigate my way through this? Like,
And I don't think that's wrong, but at the same time, they shouldn't be your number one go-to.
They shouldn't be like the first people or the first person you go and talk to about like if you're having thoughts about somebody else and you want to be with somebody else.
I didn't realize almost that should go straight to your spouse. And I know that sounds weird, but
no, because I didn't either. Like it was never like a thought of to be honest, would always like if I had trouble in my relationship, I would never go to my boyfriend and be like, so this is how I'm feeling. I would always go to like one or two friends and be like, so this is how I'm feeling, and look for validation in my feelings.
Instead of actually
throwing myself all the way under that bus. I would look for validation in my feelings. And look for validation for how, like I was treated, instead of being like, okay, let's look inward. Let's look at myself. And then let's go have a conversation with him. Because then they'd be like, oh my God, no, Sydney, you're right. You're so right. Exactly. And then I would go at it with kind of like an attack mindset. Again, I'm throwing myself all the way into discuss. I'd go at it with like an attack mindset of being like, no, I'm right. You're wrong. You did me dirty. And then him being like, so no, and then he'd be like, I'm right, you're wrong, you did me dirty, and then we'd be like,
and then
well, I guess we fighting, and then it becomes the blame game. So, wow, nice.
No, it's really dope though. Like I don't know, this is just really, really interesting. I mean, and it's going to make me more accountable for my next relationship. And I do appreciate that immensely. Because it's like, I don't want, like, again, like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, how many relationships end up ripped apart? They end, they torn.
End up, they end up.
But, like, you know what I mean? Like, because
nobody checked in with themselves and figured out themselves first and then shared with their significant other and then went from there with them.
Because it doesn't even, like, say that he didn't go, like, he didn't even really go deep into what he was feeling. His knee-jerk reaction was, I need to go talk to my wife. Like, his that's what really threw me. Was like, it was like, oh, I'm going straight to her. Like, that's what threw me. And then he allowed her to be a part of the process. Of figuring out, okay, where's this coming from? Why am I feeling like this?
But still giving her space to feel whatever she needed to feel in that moment.
In response to his.
Before they went and talked to this woman. Which I think right now, that's the part that's like getting me the most, is the fact
you gotta trust the person that you're feeling. I wouldn't go up to no stranger and be like, so I just want to let you know, me and my man were walking and we were having a problem. I'm pretty sure because this was a company party, so he knew, they both already knew her. But which again, I'm like, wow. Which means they would also know like what he does, so they would understand his teaching and stuff.
But like the fact that he was like, all right, no, I told you my feelings. I'm gonna let you feel whatever you need to feel in response to my own, and she felt them. Like that's the part that's like getting me the most. Is like he was like, no. You get to feel what you need to feel. And allowing her space and just being like, you know what? I'm going to stand over here You stand over there.
Yeah.
You feel what you need to feel. When you're done, we'll go. We'll go talk to her. And she was like, okay, bet.
Yeah. Ugh. It was just really good. It's just really amazing. All right, we're at 35 minutes.
Excuse me again. That one was an accident. I swallowed air with my water. All right, guys.
We would really like, especially for this one, the past 2 that we've done, I've really been excited about sharing these with you. Not that we're not going to be excited in the future, but just I'm really, really excited about hearing you guys' feedback on it.
Yeah.
And how you guys feel. We'll be in the comments if you leave comments.
Yeah. Or if you want to DM privately and have conversations.
Or even questions. If there's something we touched on that you were like, oh, well, they didn't go as far into that as I would have liked or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you don't agree.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Let us know how you feel. Again, if you feel like DMing us, you feel like commenting, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't forget to drop in the comments what kind of furniture you like to eat.
Jesus Christ. Anyway. But yeah, seriously, thank you guys so much for listening. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for your time. This is a really exciting topic. Yes. I was really, really pumped about it.
We have lots more
really
exciting things that we're going to be talking about. Lots of interaction with you guys.
Yeah. Also, share this with couples in your life. Yeah. I'm just kidding. We're not trying to destroy relationships.
But if you feel like sharing it with a couple that you think could benefit from hearing this.
Yeah, let definitely share with them.
And if they have questions too, let them know that they can always DM us.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your week.
Have a great day, and night, afternoon, early morning, midnight. You gotta hit all the times. 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh.
Don't forget to keep manifesting your dreams.
And remember, go ahead.
Follow us on Instagram too, and our editor Emily.
Yeah, that's right.
Subscribe, and comment, and ring that notification bell. We're so bad at doing that.
And remember, you can't change culture unless you are willing to disrupt it.
Okay,
bye, guys.